Hello communications class. Today for my demonstration video I'm going to be preparing a homemade pizza. For the sake of time we'll not be using fresh crust, we'll be using store-bought crust, so you can use whatever store-bought crust you prefer. Or there are tons of recipes out there for very simple homemade crust that doesn't take a whole lot of rising time, 5-10 minutes to prepare. So I have my homemade crust. I've got my 12-inch pan here, some olive oil. Drizzle a little bit of olive oil all over the crust. This will help the moisture that comes from your vegetables and your cheese from soaking into the crust, help keep it a little more crispy. If you don't like crispy crust, you don't have to use the olive oil. If you don't have olive oil, you can use vegetable oil. Spread it around with a pastry brush. If you get some spots that have a little too much, pick it up. Do whatever you got to do to get it evenly coated. It'll give it a nice flavor too. Okay, then we're going to have our sauce here. The great thing about homemade pizza is you can control how little or how much of each topping you put on it. Sauce included, cheese included. So we kind of like ours a little saucy. Some sauce on there. Spread it around. Nice and even. You would definitely want even spots because the sauce is going to thin out when it gets to the oven. The oven should be preheated to 450 degrees. Try to preheat it 20 minutes before you put your pizza in, then it's good and hot. It'll cook your pizza a lot better when it's like that. So we got our sauce. We put our cheese on. I like to put most of the cheese on the bottom. If you use already pre-shredded cheese, it's going to be a little bit drier. So that'll help with the moisture control. If you shred it yourself, you're going to find it's a lot more moist, and that will play with the crust a little bit. So that's why we use, another reason we use the olive oil. Like I said, your toppings are gonna define your crust basically. So the cheese there. Start with our pepperoni. And once again, here it is. You can control how much or how little you want. Remember, pepperoni is very oily as well, so that's going to bring a little more moisture, different type of moisture than the cheese, and a different type of oil than the olive oil. So you're going to be dealing with that too. But this crust is pretty thick, so this does a good job of holding in all that moisture and still keeping it crispy. So if you have just a pepperoni pizza, you can put your pepperonis right up next to each other. If you're doing more than pepperoni, spread it out a little bit. Right. Keep the flavor even. Alright, we got some mushrooms here. Now, I don't like mushrooms, so I'm only doing half mushrooms on this pizza since I'm going to be sharing it. Mushrooms, make sure if you use canned, you want to squeeze them out really well because they're very, very, very watery, and that'll soak into your pizza crust too. My daughter loves mushrooms, so as far as I'm concerned, she can have every one of them. So there's your mushrooms. Now, I'm a jalapeno fan, so I'm going to have jalapeno on my side and not on hers. And with the jalapeno, remember, if you cut them fresh and you don't de-seed them, they're going to be a lot hotter than a pickled jalapeno that you get in a jar, even with the seeds. So depending on your level of spiciness that you want to have, de-seed or don't de-seed. Already cooked pork sausage. Don't worry if it's a little pink. If you don't cook it all the way through, it's going in an oven of 450 degrees for about 10 minutes, so it's going to cook the rest of the way through. You don't have to worry about that. And here again on the control with your toppings. Do whatever pretty much you like, and you can put anything you want on your pizza. That's the greatest thing about making them at home. Pineapple, ham, bacon pieces, whatever you want. And then we're going to top it with the rest of the cheese. And with cheese on the top and cheese on the bottom, it kind of acts like a glue. It holds all those toppings in one place. Alright. Like I said, 450 preheated for about 20 minutes. Leave it in for 10 minutes, 12 minutes, depending on the kind of crisp you want. If you don't want it that crispy, leave it in for 8 minutes. And unfortunately, I don't have on my oven a window, so don't open the door, whatever you do. That'll keep all the heat in. When you keep the door closed, if you open it up, keep opening it up to check it, it's going to let a lot of heat out and it won't cook as evenly. So you can use your oven light or just kind of set your timer. Use the 10 minutes that you have to clean up the mess you just made. If you have any left over, you can freeze it, sausage-wise, pepperoni-wise. Put in some scrambled eggs in the morning. And then here's the one that we already made, all done, 10 minutes. You don't have to cut it on your plate. Sometimes the crust is just as big as the pan, so it makes it a little difficult if you have wax paper, cardboard, something like that. Probably easier to cut it on cardboard. Alright, all done. There it is. Homemade pizza. I'd like to introduce my one and only audience member. Oh God. It's my daughter Celeste. Thank you for watching my video.